when the former leader of the free world joins forces to write books with one of the world's best-selling authors. And it's not just best-selling. This man drops a book every 20 minutes. Come on now. You know you are in for a riveting political thriller, and they say they really took the gloves off for the third novel, The First Gentleman. Please welcome former President Bill Clinton and author and king, James Patterson.
Oh my God, look at this.
Yeah. Live and in person.
Yes. James, does that happen every time you walk into a room?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I figured.
Joy, you got the
I
first
know,
question.
it's great. I'm still, taking you in.
Yeah, okay, I'm taking you in
to see you
too.
both. But before we talk about the fictional White House that you guys wrote about, let's discuss the real one. That
If we must.
well, last time you were
Hard to
here,
tell the difference sometimes.
Yeah.
before the last time you were here, Mr. President, President Trump was about to be sworn in, I believe, and you said, "Everybody, take a deep breath." So now that we've taken the deep breath and we practically are dying of asphyxiation, what is your assessment of the first few months of the whatever?
Well, I think, first of all, he's done his best to implement that White House 2025 report that he said he never read, which may be true. But it turned out to be, I don't mean that disrespectfully, I mean, that's what he wanted to do, and he's doing it. And
But he said he wasn't going to do that, didn't he?
yeah, he
said
said,
he'd never
don't read
receive
that, don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
But he always does that. So
Yeah.
people pretty much knew what they were getting. They would get, new and unprecedented actions against immigrants, legal and otherwise, and a humongous tax cut. But I think there's been more of what they thought they'd get on the tariffs, the taxes, and the immigrants, and other things. I think there's been more of it than they expected.
And why is that? Because of the Congress helping them out?
No,
Supreme Court
because
helping them out?
no, you were talking about this earlier, but they don't tell them no. The Senate may tell them no because they have a broader electorate. And you all were talking about independence and all that. I think it's worth pointing out that California, that most people think is a super liberal state,
Nope.
actually the Democrats willfully gave up a couple of House seats to allow single primaries, shotgun primaries. Everybody runs in the primary and the top two voters run a runoff. And then New York now has ranked choice voting, which gives you a version of the same thing. And that way you have the benefit of the party system. And when you think you don't want to be totally in the thrall of whatever the leaders decide to do, you get to do this ranked choice voting and you know who you're for. It's much more sensible.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. President, I want to ask you, last time you were here, you were actually fiercely a defender of President Biden's when people were questioning whether he should stay in the race, and when he decided to step aside, you praised his decision to do so. There have now been a lot of reports, books written with Democratic sources talking about what appeared to be decline while he was in the White House. Do you give any credence to those reports, or do you stand by your assessment of the former president?
Well, I think you have to pay attention to them, but all I can say is whenever I was around him, his mind was clear, his judgment was good, and he was on top of his brief.
That's right.
But look at that debate, for example. What happened in the 10 days before his debate, and what were the White House staff thinking? He went to Europe and back twice, and then he went to California once. And he was 80 years old. What the heck is he doing that for?
And sick.
Yeah.
So why was that allowed to happen? So there's a lot of questions I don't know. All I know is I think we should think less about that and more about the future.
Yeah.
We now know President.
That's right.
We know President Reagan had clear signs of Alzheimer's in his last 2 years. We know Woodrow Wilson, after his stroke, couldn't make any decisions, and his wife made them. Now, some people think that's the best of both worlds. Get the white guy standing up there. Somebody else making the calls. But I mean, we're laughing about this, but it's, in my view, we should spend more time thinking about the future.
Well, let's talk about the future.
Well, I
'cause
love what Whoopi said earlier, too, and I don't think you're crazy at all. Radical ways to somehow force the Democrats and Republicans to work together somehow, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Otherwise, I don't.
You got it. I had, in Bill Cohen, I was the first Republican Secretary of Defense since World War II.
Yeah.
And I believe that. But there was tension. The Republicans moved right to the right under Newt Gingrich. The difference was Gingrich would come and talk to me at any time of the day or night. But his two main aides finally got so worried about it, they wouldn't let him come to the White House alone. Because they said, you let him go down there and talk to Bill Clinton. God, by the time they could talk 30 minutes, God knows what they'll agree to. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah,
And that is-
I think it's the only way it can work at this point in time.
Yeah,
I don't
agree.
think it can be any other way. I'm sorry, I keep stepping.
No, it's fine with me. Mr. President, I agree with you. We need to talk about the future. And beyond President Trump's big, beautiful bill, he is working to dismantle, in my view, our foundational institutions, right? He's intimidating law firms and universities. He's stifling media. He's illegally disappearing people and deporting people. And he's now threatening to impeach judges. So are you confident that the courts will hold? And what concerns you most about what he's doing now?
That the courts won't hold until we have the midterm elections.
Yeah.
But because the Supreme Court's made some good decisions, which so far have been ignored, like when they sent that Salvadoran man,
Yes.
who his own State Department said was entitled to be here and have a full hearing, and they shouldn't send him away. They sent him away, then manufactured a picture that made it look like he had MS-13 on his hands, which he didn't. And the guy's still there in jail. And so I'm worried about that. And you should be worried about that, whatever your politics.
Yeah.
Because, and although I have a sneaking suspicion if our party wins the White House in the next election, there'll be a hallelujah moment. And the Supreme Court will rediscover the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the limits on and let me tell you, I'll be happy if that happens, because all of us should operate under guardrails. The whole purpose of the Constitution was to repeal royal governance, unaccountable governance, that no Democrat or Republican can be without accountability.
Yes.
That's what I think. So we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty upbeat about it.
Well, I also want to talk, James, to you about why you're here. Whoopi talked about
We're so lucky to have you.
We are.
Because you had an extra chair.
And you have written more than 300 books and sold more than 450 million copies.
Yeah, well, I have to say, he's been president more times than me, but I've sold more books.
But it's not every day that a president reaches out and says, let's team up. So now you have a hat trick of books together. Did you ever expect to form this writing partnership and friendship with a former leader of the free world?
Yeah, I always dreamt about it. No, you know, for me, the most special thing is there's a line that I've been using lately to guide my actions for a couple of years now, which is my time here is short, and I think it's more important actually for 20-year-olds than it is for me. What can I do most beautifully? And in this case, writing this book with my friend is we love working together. And allowing people to have something to escape into. This book, I think, is smart, but it also, you get to go away from the madness for a little bit and learn something at the same time. So, and that's what we wanted to have happen with.
What else do you do with yourself when you're not writing books? You wrote how many books? I mean,
you know, for me, this is interesting because the president goes to a lot of funerals. I don't want to go to weddings, funerals, or cocktail parties. Okay. I don't like any of those. I love my wife, who's here, and I love our boy.
Where is she?
And I don't know exactly where she is. My funny line for Sue is,
She's here.
if Sue ever leaves me, I'm going with her. Okay. But that's what drives my life.
I see. Your personal life.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. And cocktail parties, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, no. But there's, you know, more to come.
So Whoopi, if you invite, we're not coming.
Right? Well, let's write a book.
Yeah.
Let's write something. Something strange and unique.